In this video, we're going to be taking a look at the sound envelope, specifically as it relates to drum sounds. So here is a drum beat. Let's listen to it. All right, there you go. So if I hit Shift Tab to flip over to the device view, I can actually solo these instruments by clicking the solo button on the drum rack, and now we can hear just this snare. This guy right here. So it's a very short sound, right? And the question is, because drum sounds are so short, how should you write them? Does it matter if they are long? Probably not. These two notes are basically the same sound, even though this one's much longer, and that's because it's a drum sound and it doesn't have any special after effects on it. Sometimes if you use a more advanced drum plugin, I'm thinking like Battery, or if you use a Reaktor plugin, there can be extra effects on the back end of the note or on the release of the note. All of those things are possible. We're not dealing with that in this video. This is just a pure sort of normal drum sound. And because it's so short, the length of the note doesn't really matter that much. So how long should the notes be? Well, basically, it's however long you play them in. You can decide whether or not you want to quantize. I'm going to talk about quantization more in depth in a later video. But just know that because the sound of the drum is so short, the actual notated length often doesn't really matter as much as it does for other instruments. Like if this were a piano or a violin or a sustaining note like a pad, it would matter a lot more. Speaking of that, let's take a look at why that is. So here is the envelope for this sound. And if you read the material in the course that goes with this video, you will see that the envelope is just a graph of the sound, right? And it's got a few stages to it. There's the attack stage, and this is how long it takes the note to go from nothing to its peak volume level. And you can see that this is the line right here, and here it's 0.81 milliseconds. This little green light indicates that that's controlled by a macro, so I can't move it directly here, but we can move it with a knob. The next stage is the decay stage, and this is how long it takes the sound to go from its peak volume to its sustaining volume. And so I can move that in and out like that, and you can see that the value is changing here. This part is the sustain of the envelope, and that's not a time value, it is a volume value, a decibel level. And so I can raise or lower that, and you can see that changing right there. The final stage of the envelope is the release, and this adjusts how long it takes that sound to die away, and again, it's a time value. So attack, decay, and release are all measured in usually milliseconds, sometimes whole seconds, but sustain is measured in volume level. And these are the controls that we can use to sculpt any kind of sound, really. Every sound that exists has an envelope. So let's adjust this envelope as we listen to this snare and figure that out. Let's see, I'm going to make sure that's selected. It's already different because of the adjustments I made. So you can see we can make quite a big difference in that sound. I've adjusted the release time so it's like ringing more. Now it won't. Now it's worth noting that this is a synthesized drum. If this were like a real drum out in the wild, right, like a snare drum on a drum kit or a kick drum, we would have less of an ability to manipulate that sound this way. But I did pick this synthesized drum on purpose just to illustrate the concept of the drum sound envelope. So just keep in mind the sound envelope for a drum matters a little extra, and the notational value maybe doesn't matter quite as much as on like a more sustaining instrument.